Hey there, everyone. Welcome to Perkstream for November 17, 2021. God still has a plan for us. Well, I'm glad you could join me here today. You know, when something doesn't go according to plan, particularly my plan, it's really easy for me to say, gosh, what a waste of time. I can't believe that I spent any time on that. Well, I'm wondering if Elijah felt the very same thing after the Mount Carmel incident, where he prayed and fire fell from heaven and the people proclaim that the Lord is God, and then a drought-busting rain comes right after that, after he prays. But the thing is that there's no record of the people really returning to the Lord. Ahab certainly wasn't impressed enough, and Jezebel really wasn't impressed. And so it left Elijah thinking, what am I going to do now? What am I doing? And so he runs down. He runs down through Judah, down into the desert, down to the Mount of God, which he does climb up. And there he hears from God. So he went down there, and the good thing is that God spoke to him. And as we've talked about in past perk streams, God had a word for him, and it wasn't in the great and mighty acts that he did. It wasn't in the earthquake. It wasn't in the wind. It wasn't in the fire. It was in the still small voice that followed all these things up. And God had a word for him, and I hope that we also hear this word. We can hear the voice of God if we stop and listen. And so if we're going to hear him, we need to be willing to open our ears and maybe close our mouths and open our heart to what he has to say, right? And then the other thing that we need to remember is that there is light at the end of the tunnel. This season doesn't last forever, so don't stay here. So those are things that Elijah needed to know and Elijah needed to plug into. But there's one more thing that God wanted him to know, and that is, Elijah, I have a plan for you. I'm doing something through you. I need you to do it. So he commissions Elijah at that point to go back the way he came and to anoint 2 people to be kings and 1 person to be prophet after him. He sends him back basically to set up the next generation of leadership for the people of Israel and for the people of Aram, and then for the people of Israel who want to hear the voice of the Lord. The interesting thing about Elisha is going to be that Elisha's ministry is going to be bigger than Elijah's ministry. Elisha's ministry is going to spread out into the nations, where Elijah was pretty much a prophet to Israel. But this was the thing. Elijah needed to go back and get those things set up, to get those things in place. God still had a plan, and he wanted to execute his plan through Elijah. God was putting in place the system that would cause justice to be done. So whoever King Hazael of Aram wasn't able to kill, Jehu would kill, and whoever escaped Jehu would be caught by Elisha. God was going to get justice done. If Elijah had any question about whether or not things would be set to right, he didn't have to worry about that. God was going to take care of it. So Elijah, thinking, hey, I failed. This was one miserable failure. But the Lord showed him that he had not failed. In fact, he still had a plan for him, and he wanted him involved. Now, I remember back in 2010, we had moved from Oregon to California, and we had good reasons for doing it, but at some point in there, in around July and August, I just began to feel the failure. I felt like this was not the plan. Everything up to this point was a waste. Why are we here? Why am I here? I identify pretty readily with Elijah's his feeling, the emotion that this was all one big failure. And I really felt like it wasn't just occupationally that I had failed, but I was beginning to feel like we were heading towards bankruptcy, and I felt like, oh, this is all going to fall apart. Life is falling apart.
So even though I felt that way, the truth of the matter is that God had a purpose, and God was not done with me. God was not done with us. Through very specific timing, he put me in a job that was just the right fit. He got us into a church where we could pour into the lives of individuals. We just kept doing what we do, and we let God work through us in those situations. So if God was not done with us, God was not done with Elijah, you know what? God's not done with you. He has a purpose. And quite frankly, to use a phrase that I learned, if you have a pulse, you have a purpose. And so God wants to get that done. So listen for that purpose and know that he is not done with you. Take that thought with you into the rest of your week as you think about the ways God may be using you. Be open to what God might do through you. God bless you. Have a great day.